Once upon a time, in the Diocese of Manchester, the President of Mothers' Union received 12 thoughtful gifts at Christmas. This is my story. On the first day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me a partridge. I know he's from Mothers' Union Manchester, as he came with one of our new compliment slips attached to his leg. Now, this is certainly a very thoughtful gift for Christmas, but he's so cute and I really can't eat him. Fortunately, we have a pear tree in the back garden, so I popped him on a branch for the time being. He does look rather lonely, so I'll probably need to find him a mate. I'll see what's on the internet. Mr. Hugs, our cat, looks interested. Oh dear. On the second day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 2 turtle doves, all cuddled up together. I'm so glad they're a pair, but I can't put them in the back garden as the partridge may get jealous. They are sitting very happily in the big fir tree in the front garden and seem to have made friends with the resident collar doves. Mr. Hugs is even more interested, especially as sleeping under the fir tree is one of his favourite pastimes. On the third day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 3 hens. They are very striking birds and definitely French. I'm aware that some of our members keep chickens, so I presume they've been locally sourced, which is really good. My husband is a keen DIY enthusiast and keeps all sorts of wood in the garage for obviously innumerable rainy days. In this case, it's very fortunate, as he's been able to make a splendid hen house and run round the back of the garage, and the birds seem delighted. I've told Mr. Hugs that these are poulets, not chickens, but he isn't easily fooled. On the 4th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 4 blackbirds. They weren't bothered that it had snowed a bit in the night and settled into the back garden with the other birds straight away. The problem is that the dawn calling has increased considerably and wakes us and the neighbours up far too early. I've had a formal complaint. Mr. Hugs has taken to lurking near the bird feeder, and I fear he may be putting on weight. He needs watching. On the 5th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 5 gold rings. They're large, shiny, heavy, and look expensive. I may need a word with our treasurer on this one. Anyway, I was just opening the box when our Police Community Support Officer, PCSO, called with a neighbourhood watch update. He'd spotted the delivery van driving away, might have blacked out windows, beats me, and noticing what was in my box, he asked some rather awkward questions. I think I fielded them quite well, but I'm not entirely sure he was convinced by my explanation. He went away shaking his head and writing a lot in his notebook. Mr. Hugs hissed at him, which didn't help at all. On the 6th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 6 geese. Well, there's a bit of a squash with the chickens, but we'll manage. The noise is starting to bother the neighbours, who, strange as it may seem, will not be pacified with the offer of free eggs. They've put in another complaint. I've also had another unexpected visit from the PCSO, who doesn't want eggs either, even free box ones. He says he is keeping a file. I asked him what on, but he wouldn't say. Mr. Hugs really doesn't like him and is still hissing. On the 7th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 7 swans. They must have been travelling some time, as the poor things were desperate to start swimming. Our pond is a bit small, but they are sitting on it. The goldfish must think they've been swallowed down a black hole, though perhaps swallowed isn't an appropriate word to use for this scenario. On top of everything, delivery drivers are boycotting our house and refusing to carry more livestock. I can't say I blame them really. Mr. Hugs is having difficulty getting through the cat flap, so a feathered head count is in the offing. On the 8th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 8 milkmaids. This would have been all right, as they're lovely, friendly girls, but unfortunately they brought their cows with them. Their milking stools have made large holes in the lawn, which, although it could do with aerating, hasn't pleased my husband. On top of this, the maids left the side gate open, so the cows escaped, rampaged through the neighbours' gardens and ended up grazing in the local churchyard. I am now not popular with the vicar as well as the neighbours. Mr. Hugs is hissing a lot, so the PCSO must be in the vicinity. On the 9th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 9 ladies in colourful dresses who entertained a street with a popular dance. Strangely, the PCSO said we should have kept the children indoors, and he is returning the ladies to the sender, who may be on the other side of the channel. It's a relief, as we're running out of room. I must check with our office to see which members have been to France recently. We do have an excellent track and trace app. Mr. Hugs is missing, probably in hiding. On the 10th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 10 lords, who came leaping down the road, frightening everyone to death. This was a surprise, made even more of a spectacle when the riot police turned up. They were obviously called by the PCSO, who, according to my informant, is working undercover locally for some reason. Now, lying on the ground with your hands behind your head is very uncomfortable and not to be recommended. It was a silly idea of mine to suggest to the officer in charge that maybe the lords had been hired in from Westminster as a flash mob. They were all taken away for questioning, and I presume there will be a few empty seats in a certain large iconic building in London. My file with the PCSO is getting larger, apparently. Mr. Hugs has been found stuck behind the washing machine. Poor little boy. On the 11th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 11 pipers. Now, don't get me wrong, I love the sound of music. That's not the musical, by the way. And bagpipes are okay with me, but unfortunately not with the neighbours. The pipers spent far too long warming up, setting the geese off. The partridge has left the pear tree, at least I hope that's all that's happened to him. My file with the PCSO continues to grow, so grateful to my informant, but I feel I may need security protection, and I doubt that Mothers' Union will pay for that. Mr. Hugs needs taking in for questioning, re the partridge. On the 12th day of Christmas, Mothers' Union sent me 12 drummers. I think these must have been from the trustees, who know I have rhythm in my soul and am usually up for a challenge. It's a very kind thought, and I really appreciate it, but squashing the drummers in the spare room with the pipers is verging on the ridiculous. As you can imagine, the noise is deafening. 3 things. 1. I think the hooded individual with binoculars spotted on local CCTV might be the PCSO. 2. Rumour has it that the neighbours have been having secret meetings. I think my invitation must have got lost in the post. And 3. If Mr. Huggs could put his paws over his ears, he certainly would. So thank you, Mothers Union, for my thoughtful gifts. The good news is that the partridge is back in the pear tree unharmed. However, our office has received an application for funding a large backpack for the PCSO, as my file is too large to carry otherwise. Apparently, I am now a person of interest, whatever that means. My husband is watching reruns of The Bodyguard, so he is ready to spring into action should the need arise. I do hope that won't be necessary. Mr. Huggs, although totally exonerated in the case of the missing partridge, has been given an ASBO, is tagged and on a diet. My story has come to an end, so Christmas blessings and lots of love. From 12 drummers drumming, 11 pipers piping, 10 lords a leaping, 9 ladies dancing, 8 maids a milking, 7 swans a swimming, 6 geese a laying, 5 gold rings, 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, and 1 rather grumpy partridge in a pear tree. Not forgetting myself and the amazing, extremely cuddly Mr. Huggs. Have a happy Christmas.